Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Keim Report wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Ampire Media. That's Ampire. Always much appreciated when you tune in. And don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com in case you missed it. Courtney Cronin and I are, she is our Bears reporter. We did a quick, very quick oral history of that Hail Mary pass. So go give that a read on ESPN.com. So, and don't forget a programming note. Bram Weinstein, the voice of the Commanders, and I will be doing our live stream show 7:30 Eastern time on Tuesday night. Join us there. I'll be doing the private Gold members Zoom session at 7:30 on Thursday night this week. That Friday is getting a little bit tougher, it seems like. But when I can go Thursday, I will, folks. Sometimes it's a little bit harder than other times. But this week, we're going to go Thursday at 7:30. So there you go. So let's get to the game review. And I want to go over Jaden Daniels. Going to go over some of the defensive stuff because the defense is playing better despite some of I really one big play and one drive. So otherwise, defense has done really well the last 2 weeks. And are they getting better? And so there's obviously some things that stand out. So with Jaden Daniels, one of the things that's funny because when you go back and, well, first of all, let's go back to Dan Quinn because we had he had his press conference on Monday over Zoom. And I was kind of wondering, like, what do you do after a game like that? And he said he was certainly basking, I think, a little bit in that win last night, and just like anybody associated with the team would. But he said that he was getting sent a lot of like text messages of different video angles of that play. So in other words, just like every one of you out there, they're watching all these videos. And I told you last night, Tyler Biadasz and Nick Allegretti were sitting there in the locker room watching on Biadasz's phone some of the highlights from that, or some of the different angles from that last play. And a couple things real quick before I get into some of the stuff and what Quinn talked about, like the no real update. There's no update on Cornelius Lucas or Brandon Coleman because we won't get those till Wednesday. As I told you, Lucas left the stadium in a walking boot on his left foot last night. Don't know the severity of the ankle injury. And then Brandon Coleman was in the concussion protocol, so don't know what his status is. And they need one of those guys out there. So anyway, that's all we have there. And as far as Jaden Daniels goes, yes, he was sore. You would expect that. I think he's probably sore after every game he plays. And just like as Dan Quinn said, just like every other player. So, he certainly got up a little bit, not slow, but there were a couple of times where you could see it. He felt it as he was walking off the field, but he gutted it out. And so that's pretty impressive. Anyway, so that's kind of the injury updates right now. And we always get more of that on Wednesday. So with Jaden Daniels, one of the things that kind of jumped out is after that touchdown pass, if you notice, it was a couple seconds before he really reacted. I'm not sure if clearly he was excited because after a minute you saw the reaction, right? But the initial thing was just nothing. And I'm not sure. Was he not sure what happened? Because players are pouring on the field, or was he just that poised and composed? Because it's kind of how he is. I mean, he's a very, as they say, chill dude. So you saw it there, but then of course he went crazy because you should. I mean, why wouldn't you do it after that? If you're not going to do it then, you're not going to ever do it. And I think what's impressive though is after the game is just how he reacts in press conferences, how he reacts in the locker room. He's not sitting there strutting around or anything like that. It's another day at the office, and when you talk to him in the press conference, he's very deferential to others. He just wants to give his guys a shot, and that's what he did, which is what his job is: give your guys a shot. And it's funny because one of the things I talked about after the game was not quite as accurate as he normally is. And I still think there was definitely some times where it's like, in some other games, maybe you're giving your guy a little bit better of a chance to run with the ball after the catch there, or maybe leading a little bit better. But by and large, he played a really good game. Given the circumstances, it's a good defense. And, some of his misses are not they're not bad. And you saw Caleb Williams when he was missing, sometimes he was missing by a lot. Jaden Daniels doesn't miss by a lot. He's kind of he's like a pitcher in baseball who's a really good pitcher who on those days where you don't have pinpoint command, you're still a highly effective pitcher because because you're always around the strike zone. So in other words, you're still giving your guys a chance to catch the ball. And I'll go like, for example, that pass to Zach Ertz in the end zone, which was which the replay challenge upheld the drop on the play. He gives Ertz a chance to make the play. Now, I do think, and this kind of goes to some red zone issues, but he had a chance to lead Ertz on that play. He threw the ball a little bit behind him. Two things are true here. One, Ertz still could have caught the ball. Two, Daniels could have delivered a better pass. But again, his miss still gave his guy a chance to catch the ball. When you watch Caleb Williams, sometimes his misses gave nobody a chance to catch the ball. And that's a kind of a big difference. So you saw that time and again. There were a couple of times where where others had a shot at the ball. And like he had to roll out to the left, and he scramble drill, and he throws it to Noah Brown, who's kind of diving to his right, and maybe he could have caught that, but he gave him a chance. And could it have been a little bit better ball? Well, sure, but could he? It would have been a really tough. There, some of them were just like that would have been a tough catch, but he gives his guys a shot. So even when he's not as on as he was in some other games, he's still always around the strike zone. And I think that's one of the things that jumps out. And again, there were a couple of times where it's like, okay, some other games he's been better at the ball placement on that one to give your guys some yak room, but still completing it. And I just thought he played a really good game against a good defense for a variety of reasons. You saw the gutsiness playing with the rib injury, but there are times where he's layering the ball to Zach Ertz on a ball. And so I'll get into all this stuff, but I just felt like he played a really good game. And after rewatching him, really he does not. It's amazing. And this is one of the things Dan Quinn said. I'm going to read this to you too, but it's on just how he's not like how teammates don't consider him like a rookie. And I just think it's kind of rare how that is. And let's see what he said here. Yeah, okay. So somebody asked him in the press conference, I think it was Scott Abraham, asked him if it's rare for a team to have so much trust in a rookie. And Dan Quinn said, yes, it is rare because it has to be proven over and over. And Jaden has continually done that during his time here to show early on as a veteran, hey, is this guy going to help us? And what is there? And you're just constantly being put to the test to see how you respond and how you'll go. And so he's really earned that respect from his teammates. And that's why they all want to fight so hard for him. Some of that does come from his humility. You do see him pushing it all back to the guys. And that is a skill in itself that he has, that his teammates just absolutely would just fight at the drop of a hat for him. They just respect him that much. So that's, but he also he does not play like a rookie. So there's that maturity to him in general, but also to his game. He does not look like a rookie out there. And I don't know that he ever has. And I think Sunday was another example of that, where again, you're facing a better defense. Not like he was exposed, folks. He was still pretty damn good. And the last pass was really good. But I just felt like he still shows an awful lot on a day where he's up against more things than usual. That is a good defense. He was hurt and he still managed to do very well. So I just think that was a good showing by him. There was again, there were a couple times like oh, this is one thing I like too. So he has that ball. If you remember the ball, right before the 61-yard pass, he throws an out to Terry McLaurin. It's a second down and I don't know, about 20-yard pass, something like that. McLaurin, this is where I'm talking about where the miss is. And it's like, yeah, it could have been. It looks like, I wonder if McLaurin mistimed the jump just a little bit, maybe jumped a little bit, stitched too early, that made that look harder. And, just the throw is a little bit high, but if you could he have timed the jump better? That's what I wonder there. But again, that's one where it's like a little bit off, but maybe not, it's certainly not so far off that you don't have a chance to make the play. Well, the next play, then it's a 61-yard dime. And that's just hits him in stride. The other good thing I like the other thing I liked on that 61-yard play is both the chip on both sides of the ends. And I got to tell you, Austin Eckler is a really good chipper. And you see it like for a guy who's small, and I think that actually helps him in that situation because you're low and it's leverage down there. But I saw him a couple times go up and knock guys a little bit off their balance because of his chip. He is a powerful guy. Like for someone he's not big, he's not tall, but he is very powerful and strong. And so just I think that has to be acknowledged. The other thing is, and I'm kind of rambling here, I'll get back to Jaden Downs in a second. But I think De'Ami Brown deserves a little bit of love too. For I don't think anybody has tougher, not so much tougher catches, but those catch and runs where he's getting in because he's going to get drilled on those little tunnel screens, whatever you want to call them. Not always the easiest of runs, and it's like because you got to slam it up in there, and he does. And I think that's one thing that with the speed, he's quick to that, and he's we haven't seen the deep speed, but that's where I think you feel it because he's usually getting decent yardage out of those situations. So, anyways, I had to point that out. And then going back to Daniel, so I talk about like there's one of the things I like about his game, and I have liked and will always like, is how good a catchable ball he throws. Does that make sense? So he gives his guys a chance because that ball is catchable. It's not a bullet every time because it doesn't need to be. He had that layered throw to Zach Ertz, and I mean, there are multiple guys around there. Now, what helps there was a play action to the play. And I think it delays the linebackers getting out there. It also slowed the end. And I think that was Montez Sweat on this one, but it slows him. So it gives him a little bit of time and then a little bit more space because you got Edmonds was dropping there. I don't know that he would have gotten there anyways, if even without the play action, but it gave him a better chance to complete that. And as you can see, I'm putting a picture up here of it for those who are watching, but it's a layered throw over the top of the linebacker. Ertz is going up there. There's not a lot of margin for error. Just a really good throw by Jaden Daniels. There were some issues on Sunday with the when they rushed 5 pass rushers. When they did that, he only completed 2 of 8 passes, 2 sacks, 6 pressures. So there were a couple of times where TJ Edwards, a good linebacker, if you remember him from Philadelphia, does a nice job blitzing, and I think the backs had a harder time with him. Saw Eckler have a hard time with him a couple of times, and you saw Brian Robinson have a hard time with him as well. That led to some pressure on Daniels, and sometimes you're able to get out of that run, not always. But Edwards caused some problems there. Here's another throw that I liked, and this, again, toughness, and it's the 3rd down and 5 to Zach Ertz. So again, I'm putting up a picture of this, but I'm doing it because he's getting hit as he throws. And this is one where like I said, is it a perfect ball? It's a ball that gives his guy a chance to make a play as he's getting hit, as Daniels himself is getting hit. And so one thing he does see TJ Edwards coming on the blitz, and you can see him take just a quick glance in that direction. And it's not, you don't want your guy to see the rush per se, but it was just more like a little glance over there. You can see him coming. So he kind of just steps slightly to his left, puts himself in a better spot. And then as he kind of turns to make the throw, he's going to get hit. But he makes a throw that Zach Ertz makes a really nice play on. And I think that was just another nice ball by him. And it was a good ball. So I think there's just so much toughness that he plays with that this is who he is, but it's that competitive aspect to him that I think stands out, and it's why teammates love him. But on a day where it was tougher, he still makes it look really good. I like how they used Terry McLaurin, and I'm going to get to some numbers on McLaurin in a quick minute here, but against Tyreek Stevenson, shout out Tyreek for not playing that last pass, and it's just amazing what he did. I give him credit for coming out and apologizing to teammates publicly and all that, because that's what you have to do. You lose your head and there's no excuse, and there's just none, and there isn't. And so you do that, but it benefited Washington. It's not like he got back in the play, but your head isn't there. You're not thinking about what you need to be doing or where you need to be doing it. So anyways, one thing they did with him, they ran some comebacks against him, and McLaurin was able to get separation on those. and they ran go routes against him. And we saw the 61-yarder, just a straight go. Had another one in the end zone, if you remember, where the ball was, again, it's when Daniels is off, we're talking like 2 yards maybe on a deep ball like that, where it's like you have safety help coming over, and the safety, if the ball's another yard or two over, maybe the safety picks it off in the end zone. If it's a little bit yard to the inside, it may be a touchdown for McLaurin. There's that much there. That's the difference there. Almost a really good play by McLaurin, but he gave him a chance. So let's get to the numbers for McLaurin with Jayden Daniels now, a quarterback, and why. I mean, this is what McLaurin has been waiting for, and now you know why. He's so happy. So right now, McLaurin's on pace for definitely a Pro Bowl, definitely a Pro Bowl type season. 1,230 yards, I'll say it's 8.5 touchdowns, but you can go 9 if you want. That's fine. 85 catches. So think about that. Like, it'd be another year with over 1,000 yards, but if he finishes like that, if he plays all 17, this is what he's on pace for. And it's actually better because the first couple of games it wasn't there. I never ever worried about him getting his stride with Jayden Daniels because there's just too much chemistry. This summer there was too much excitement from McLaurin, and sometimes when you don't see it in practice and you're not seeing it in a game, you know, like there's something up. But when you see it in practice and you know it's there, you know it's going to happen, it's going to come. But the other is a couple differences. McLaurin's averaging 14 and a half yards per catch. That's up definitely over last year. Um, he's averaging a career high 15.02 air yards per target. Last year it was 11.46. So they're getting him chances more down the field. That's what you need to do with him. And um, we saw that with Daniels in college. He's going to give his guys a shot to win down the field. He's doing it with McLaurin now. His targets per route run. So whenever he's running a route, he's being targeted on 28.6% of the routes he's running. Do you know what his previous career high was? 23.9%. So that's a substantial jump in how many targets he's getting per route run. It's not like they're just calling plays directly for him because, you know, a lot of times it's going to be progression. We've always heard that in the past. It's a progression, which is true. You do have progressions, and sometimes the progression takes you to a different receiver. But Daniels is finding them. And there it's 28.6%. That's pretty darn good. So he's already had 3 100-yard games. He had 5 combined in 2022 and 2023. So this is really a good situation for him. I think everybody always wondered, what could Terry McLaurin do with a good quarterback? We're seeing that. And I think those numbers, it wouldn't shock me if his averages or if his projection for the year continues to go up, because I think the more he plays with Daniels, I think the more he's going to do. So anyways, just wanted to point that out because I think it's been a big difference for him. There was another one where the Bears rush 3, and it's one where Daniels has to climb the pocket, gets a nice ball to McLaurin for 18 yards. I like that he keeps his eyes up on the play. He wasn't looking to run. He was moving up in the pocket. They were, again, covering with 8, and he threw it low away from danger. So you see that all the time with him. And then the next pass, it was a comeback against Tariq Stevenson. 2 passes after that, it was what happened after that one? Oh, I'm sorry. I know what I want to talk about. So let's go now to the final play. And 2 passes prior to the touchdown. Jayden Daniels has to roll to the right, keeps his composure, throws back to the other side to Zach Ertz. It's like a 30-yard throw in the air, but it gets 11 yards. So a good ball there. And, it's funny because you look at that, if it's incomplete, if you try to run out of bounds, you're not going to get as many yards, or if you throw it, a bad throw, it's going to be over, whatever. So good job there. And then this is one play I didn't understand. The next play, the Bears, the 13-yard pass to Terry McLaurin, that put them in position to make that final play. The Bears had, I think it was 7 guys all the way across the field at about the 30-yard line, 20-yard line. Hold on one second. Yeah, and I put a picture up here. The Bears had 7 players at the Commanders' 30 or close to the end zone. So inside the 30 and inside. So they gave them all that room to make a play, to make 3 yards, and there were 6 seconds left on the clock when they started the play. So they picked up a quick 13 yards on that play and put them in position to get that ball. So Daniels one time, I think, I can't remember who it was with, maybe it was with one of the bar stools or something like that, where he talked about, they asked him how far he could throw a football. He said like 70 yards. Well, putting him in position here may have been almost at the edge of where he's going to throw the ball. Not he can throw it 52 yards. That's how long the touchdown pass is recorded as. The ball went 65 yards in the air. So if you don't get those free yards, then you're not making this, you're not throwing it into the end zone. So it's really, I'm not sure what the Bears were doing there, why they put everybody back that far, and they just gave them yards and they put them in better position to throw a Hail Mary. I don't think I understand that. And I would say this, I've talked to former NFL players who did not understand that either, and with good reason. So I don't know what the Bears may have been thinking, but that's what they did. And so I think the Commanders say, thank you very much. Anyways, and then you set up the last play, and I just think we've gone over that. I don't know what more can be said other than that. Like, it was a wow play. We all know that, and I don't I don't think I have any more words to describe what the guy did there and what everybody did there. I just still remain impressed how they all did their job. And that ball goes up and they went to the areas they're supposed to. And I think that's what impressed me as much as anything. And you can see Noah Brown kind of going up with the pack and then kind of push himself back. And I don't know. I mean, you're going up there because if the ball gets you may have a chance for it. Once you see it, you got to get back in position. And he did that. If he stays where he did, maybe he doesn't get that because maybe it goes over his head. But because he backed up, which he was supposed to do, because he did that and did his job, that was I don't know if I've ever seen an easier catch on a Hail Mary than that one. Anyways, so that's it on the offense. That's about all I have on that. And then let's go quickly to the defense and just a few things that stood out because I like what they did. I like how they're starting to play. To me, they're starting to play faster. This is what you would expect from a defense when you play more time together, you more and more time in the system, et cetera. Guys know one another better. I think that all makes a difference. And it's funny, I was on the Junkies today, shout out Junkies. And I was asked about like the defense, and I think there was some expectations of instant improvement, and it just doesn't happen like that. And I was thinking about it too, like what's different now? Well, I do think the speed of which they're playing at is better because the more you're in a system, the more you're together, I think the more you play that way. And I think they're starting to do that. And that's, if they continue that, this is going to be a very tough team. Now they have their holes, all right? And we know that, but I think they're starting to play fast, especially up in the front. Like I like what their ends do. I like Dorrance Armstrong. I really like what Dante Fowler's added. Cleveland Farrell had a couple really good plays early in the game, especially first play. He's pinching the end or the tight end, just pinching that hole and leads to a short gain. The next play, he's taking away that screen. The reason why Johnny Newton has that tackle for a loss is because Cleveland Farrell takes away the screen because he read it perfectly. And that's just a good veteran player. I think they also did a good job of taking away Caleb Williams' first read and making him maybe a little bit more uncomfortable than he clearly would like. Like he was wild early in that for a large part of that game. I'm not going to get into who's the better rookie. Jaden Daniels is playing better, to me. Now, does that mean he's going to be the better quarterback down the road? I don't know. I think they're both good young quarterbacks. I really like what Jaden Daniels does. I think there's a difference right now. And I think yesterday, I think for sure there was a difference. His misses again were not that pronounced. Caleb Williams's were. Caleb Williams showed a lot of savvy playmaking ability in the pocket, really, really, really hard to get down. We saw that. He made plays when he would get outside there, whether it's running. He's made what they didn't get of him was that major, massive play when he gets on the move, throwing the ball. Like they did a good job taking that away for the most part. There was one time to Keenan Allen. I think part of that was they just lost Keenan Allen. And he was blocking on the end on a play where he's just kind of almost staying in, and then he just snuck out because there's linebackers and linemen around him, and they're not plastering. So he got open for that for like a 22-yard gain late in the game. But by and large, they did a really good job. Again, taking away that first read. I think some of that was disguised coverages. One of the reasons that Washington does the no huddle up tempo is to take away a defense's ability to really start to disguise coverages more. And you'd see the Bears do a little bit of that at the no huddle, but when they didn't, I thought Washington did a good job of a lot of different coverages. You're showing there's some inverted cover twos that they rotate, where it rotates to after the snap. And just sometimes it looks like there's maybe quarters on one side, cover two on the other, man one side, zone the other. Well, that's all, none of that's new, but there were times where definitely like they're showing one thing before the snap, rotating after the snap. And again, I felt like they did a good job taking away his first read for a decent amount of the game. And Caleb Williams had a good, strong finish, but I really liked how Daniels played overall. And I do like where Williams can get to for sure. And he coming off of a couple really good games as well. So, anyways, there are times where they third down. Oh, the third down. There's the one sequence where it's like a 3rd down and 2, and linebacker drops, take it away. What I like on the play too is the way Samuel. I like how Mike Samuel still communicates. I think he does a good job with that too. I know there's a lot about Bobby Wagner and there's others on there, but I think Samuel still is a smart player and does a good job communicating. And you could see the gestures. Sometimes it's to Igbenogany. Maybe it's sometimes to Percy Butler. You saw that as well, but he's good at communicating and just the arm gestures to make sure others see it. And there are times where they're having to yell, but now this time there's more arm gestures, and perhaps that's a nod. I'm going to have to find out if that's something that's a little bit different rather than just relying on yelling. Just this is a lot easier to see than trying to catch somebody's attention sometimes by calling their name. Again, I felt like Williams would get rushed a little bit times. I think there was one time it was a 3rd down and 10. It looked like quarters to one side. It looks like it starts off as quarters and switch to a cover one. Third and 10, incomplete. Um, again, Jalen Holmes has a sack. It looks like maybe they're playing one coverage to one side, different coverage to another. Good coverage. I like how Fedarian Mathis drives the center back on that one, gets off the double team, and Holmes contributes the sack. And so just a good job by the D line getting after him. Hard to get him down. Like if it's a normal quarterback, they have a few more sacks for sure. But he's not a normal quarterback when it comes to that. There was another time where it's a 3rd down and 2, and you see Bobby Wagner and Jeremy Chin talking pre-snap. This is one of the things that Dan Quinn talked about with us today, is just how much in control he felt Wagner was on the field, as much as a coach as he's been since he's been here, a coach on the field. And you could see that, moving the linemen around, talking to Jeremy Chin, gesturing other times. But on this play, it's a 3rd down and 2. And on this play, Frankie Louvu makes his presence felt, shoots inside. You have Wagner, that because he shoots inside, he forces the back wider around, and there comes Wagner to the hole. And because he's got to go wide, he can't hit that fast, and that allows Wagner to make a 1-yard stop. And that's one where the next play is that 4th and 1. And this is where Frankie Louvu, man, like he made plays after play after play, and sometimes it's not always his play, but he contributes. Like he and Mike Samersdale are involved in more of those hustle plays, those impact plays. Sometimes it's the hockey assist play, but those guys get a lot of those. And on the 4th and 1, you have, credit Benjamin St. Juste. But if you notice on that 4th and 1, he's about 6 yards off of DJ Moore. And right before the snap, St. Juste takes 2 more steps up, 2 more yards up. That's the difference between between a stop and a not and a 1st down. Because if you're not creeping up at all, then he's going to get a few yards off that. But because he gets up there, stops him. Then you got Louvu, who's on the end, who's being blocked, immediately turns and goes and grabs him and finishes it off. Big, big, big play there. But again, Louvu just always brings the energy, and there's sometimes in coverage, I wonder, he reads the eyes a lot. And I that's one of the things I wonder, like, does that sometimes get you out of position a little bit or not? I don't know, but that's something I want to find out, just like how things are going there for him. But the other thing you did too, and this is like the benefit of his athleticism and speed. He's got a tackle of Caleb Williams in the open field. Like that could have been a long run. It turns into a 3-yard run. He just takes him and throws him down. But not many guys can do that against Caleb Williams, because that guy can make you miss, and he did not on that one. I liked, and Quinn talked to Quinn was asked about the rookie the D line, and he singled out Johnny Newton in particular, especially some of the rookies he talked about, but Johnny Newton in particular. And I would agree. I thought that was his best game. And I've said this all along. I didn't know where he was going to be, that he was going to have this kind of an impact this week, but you could see that there's a lot there. You just figure it needs a lot more, he needs a lot more seasoning, but they're moving him around a lot. He was impacting the play from multiple spots over the center. I thought Mathis at times. I think like Mathis is becoming a solid back rotational guy for them because he just had some power in the middle. And there were a couple times he's driving the center back as well, and so did Newton. And Newton made a handful of plays just with that quickness off the ball. And again, I think what his praise from Quinn's praise of him is deserved. I think they're both doing a nice job, but I think Newton is the kind of guy that because of that quickness can start making some big plays. You want to know how this defense can improve. And again, you go back to guys like Newton. He's new, he's young. That's how you can get better. So there are still ways, and I really like how some of those D linemen are playing. Again, the ends in particular. So I think there's some hope that this defense will continue to at least play good enough. 15 points is good enough to win every game, period. They've given up, 22 points the last 2 weeks combined. It's pretty damn good. So you continue that, you're going to be in good shape. And they play the Giants this week, who do not have a good offense. So it could be another week where they start to get even healthier with all their stuff. But I like how they're playing fast. And I think that bodes well, certainly for sure. I think Benjamin St-Juste at times, typical Benjamin St-Juste game does a lot of good things, and then it has some things where you say like, So he gets there. The Bears, one of the things we talked about this on my 5 things, I think that you see them doing a lot of double moves, especially in the red zone area or in key situations. And he had the double move. Gives up a slant and then a cut back to the out, but he bites hard on the slant. Don't blame him. It's third and short. So you do it, but he drives hard on that. And then it allows, I think it was Odunze to cut outside and gets like 16 yards on a 3rd down and 5, key 3rd down. And then on the pass interference, and this is where I think you've got to be a little bit more disciplined, because on that one, he's playing outside leverage. Well, he bit hard on the fake to the outside, but you've got the leverage there. You don't have to do that. Then Moore cuts back to the inside, and then St-Juste wraps his hands around him. Like, just play your leverage. You had it. He didn't have any help to the inside. This was all on him. So you've got to be careful there. But he bit hard to the outside, and it just opened up. So if he doesn't grab him, it may be a touchdown. So of course, if you got a touchdown, if you get more time to set up a Hail Mary, then again, if you had more time, maybe you're going for a field goal instead of a Hail Mary. So it all worked out. Anyways, there were definitely times though I felt like he did a really nice job, and he had a couple nice jams on Moore one time in a cover two. I think he stunned Moore because of it. I don't think he was expecting it. But there are still those mistakes that you make that leads to this, but other corners make them too. But those are just ones where it's like those are just a little bit more where you gotta they will make those double moves, and he just bit, and that's it. On the 56-yard run by DeAndre Swift, one of the things Quinn talked about was the desire to force that ball back inside, which is true because there's help inside. You always want to force it back inside there. That's true. One of the things that I wondered about here, I think this defense has been really good about playing with effort, I think for sure. And I don't question their effort overall at all. And their toughness, I think they're playing physical. But on that play, it definitely looked like there were a couple guys who looked like they felt like the play was going to be stopped here. So they weren't charging as hard to the ball from the backside as they may have. And like Jalen Holmes did a really good job with his effort. And then he sees the guy almost going to get him. So he kind of takes his foot off the gas just a little bit. I don't know if he could have gotten him over the sidelines, but he could have had a shot, but he took that shot away. But there are other guys I felt like Luvu and St-Juste from the backside. Could they have gotten over there a little bit more? Maybe, but again, I felt like it was as much they felt like he was going to go down, and they just kind of didn't give up on the play. I think they just assumed something was going to happen because this is a group. I don't even like to criticize that because this is a group that plays really hard. It's just that when you see that, you wonder, could they have? Maybe they don't because there are other issues that were there that long before it gets to the backside pursuit. But that's like when you're charging, you get in the ball, which they do a lot, and they do it very well. But on this one, I wonder, could you have done it just a little bit better? I don't know. Um, But I do think overall this defense is playing hard and playing fast. And you really start to see that change during the Bengals game in the Monday night game, because you start to see the hitting that I think they wanted to play with. And it's like each week it feels like they're doing a little bit more, a little bit more. The Ravens game has been the blip on the radar screen over the last month or so, because that's the one game where they just had more breakdowns in coverage and communication. And again, that may be something I want to talk to some guys about. Like, have you changed anything since then, just to make sure things get communicated more crisply and sharper? And I think, maybe it has, because the mistakes they made the other night, nothing was about communication or anything like that. It was DeAndre Swift makes a play. And there were penalties here, a couple plays by Caleb Williams, but it wasn't a communication breakdown. It was some guys making plays. Or it was just an individual breakdown where maybe you bite too hard on this fake, or you don't make whatever, but it wasn't they're not having those breakdowns. Last year in the Bears game, you remember a couple of those breakdowns. So clearly a little bit better than they were at that point. And, I think, like I said, I really like how Johnny Newton's starting to play. I think, and Mathis as well. I think Mathis has been a lot more consistent. I think he deserves a lot of praise for that. I think Dorrance Armstrong, I'm a fan of how he plays. There are a couple times where you always wonder, like, why would those ends stand up? Because they do stand up a decent amount. And if you remember last year, like, that became a point of contention with the coaches. Like, they were okay with Chase Young and Montez Sweat standing up at times, but just not a lot. And Chase Young was doing every play because he wanted to get better vision. Well, you see sometimes why that matters. So on there, if you remember, there was a jet sweep where Dorrance Armstrong tackles, I think it was more for like a 2-yard loss. Well, I think the main reason he gets that is because he's standing up as a left defensive end. The play's coming to him. If you're down if you got your hand in the dirt, you may not be able to see that the same way, but he's up, he sees it, steps up, 2-yard loss. And then I think, Johnny Newton, again, playing over the center. He had one time where it was good coverage where he's over the center. You got Bobby Wagner blitzing, disguise coverage, forces a throwaway. So they're starting to come together, and I'll be really curious to see how much it comes together against the Giants again on Sunday, when you have a chance to continue to build on your momentum as a defense and as a team. So anyway, folks, that's it for me. I apologize for rambling. Going to call it a night. Join me Tuesday night, 7:30 Eastern Time, with Bram Weinstein, the voice of the Commanders, as we wrap up one of the most improbable endings in Washington franchise history, and then look ahead to the Giants and other big picture stuff. So I'll talk to you next time.